Hey guys, guess who's back? It's me, Wuggolo, and today the Object Show Tip series is returning after a long break. Sorry about the wait, I wasn't sure what to do for this next part. I wanted to do a writing episode, but I realized I'm not the greatest writer in the world. That's why I decided to bring someone along.
Hi, I'm WebzForevz. I'm the sole writer of Extraordinarily Excellent Entities, as well as a head writer for OSO 3, co-writer for Camp Objects, and a script editor for Object Show, Object Lockout, and Non-Existent Living.
As you can see, he has quite the writing resume. Hire him, Pixar. Anyway, let's get started with these tips. Note, this video isn't supposed to be step-by-step directions on how to write your show. The great thing about writing is that you can do whatever you want. This video is going to detail ways to start writing, and then we'll go through a bunch of things you should avoid doing. Part 1. How to start. So, every show needs a script, unless someone out there is making an improv object show. I doubt it, but that'd be fun to watch. Anyway, in order to start writing, I suggest first figuring out how you want to write. The method most people go with in this community is writing through text on Google Docs or another similar application. This method is easy for voice actors to search through when they're recording lines, and is a lot more clean. However, others prefer writing in a storyboard method. That's how BFB writes, for instance. If you like making comics or just like to visualize what you want to happen in the show, this method might be for you. It definitely isn't for me, as I think writing on Google Docs is a lot faster and easier. Everyone has their own strengths, and it's best to play to them, rather than to do what you think everyone else is doing. Another thing you should figure out before you start writing is who you're going to be writing with. I personally find writing with one other person is the best method, at least for me. What I've noticed is that with many object shows in the community, they're all written by 3, 4, or even more people at a time. I wouldn't recommend this, as everyone will have their own vision of what the show would be, and I'd assume you want your show to be primarily your vision. Instead of having a ton of writers, I'd suggest having a few people read through and edit the script after it's finished. This way you don't have a lot of conflicting opinions when you're writing, but people can put their 2 cents in afterwards to catch things you didn't notice. The reason why I think having one co-writer alongside yourself is better than being alone is that they can help you realize your vision, and help you fix errors as you go. I've written 6 episodes of OLO with my co-writer Tauno in a Skype call, and communicating with someone else has helped me improve my writing skills, and has made my episodes better. If you want to write alone, that's entirely okay too, but you should definitely have someone read through your script after it's done and edit it. That's called script editing, and I usually have a few people read through my scripts after they're done, just so any mistakes me or Tauno didn't catch are fixed. The last thing I do before jumping into an episode is to write a quick little outline. I usually have some ideas in my head of what I want to do for an episode days before I write, and I don't want to forget those ideas, so I write them down. I think having a few key things like an idea for a challenge, main character moments, and other important scenes jotted down could help make writing easier than if you're just going in with nothing. Part 2. Writing Tips.
In this section, we'll be going over common tropes that object shows utilize, which are
not very good.
One of the biggest problems in object shows is long and redundant writing. People do not naturally talk in long, cohesive sentences, especially during conversation. I take a lot of notes from the book Creative Writing Exercises for Dummies, and here's an excerpt from page 49. All too often, writers make dialogue too long and have people in long, complete, fully thought-out sentences. Most real-life speech doesn't happen this way. People usually talk in fragments, frequently don't finish sentences, and often interrupt each other. It goes on to talk about how writers have the ability to go back and rewrite sentences, but people, when speaking, do not. They say what's on their mind with little time to revise. To help aid in this advice, here's an example of a sentence that is far too long and far too redundant. In this situation, character 1 is mad at character 2 for losing the challenge for their team. I'm so mad at you. I cannot believe you blew the challenge for us, and you do not even care. Why are you even a part of this team? I hope you get eliminated. Why is this so awkward? First off, a character, if showing they're mad, don't need to start a sentence with, I'm so mad at you. This only lengthens the line and is redundant. We already know they're mad. Second, this sentence is far too transparent. There's little tact in what the character is saying, and it's not very natural for a character who clearly cares about their team to also be so rude to another teammate. I hope you get eliminated is implied in this line already. A very small detail here is that the character is written without using contractions. Most people use contractions in speech, it's faster and less awkward. Along with that, object characters sound and act pretty young most of the time for ageless characters, and most young people use contractions like don't instead of do not and can't instead of cannot. Finally, this dialogue is pretty dismissive. There's almost no way for whoever character 1 is yelling at to respond. This stops the dialogue prematurely. I'm going to split this dialogue up and create a scene with character 1 and the character they're mad at, character 2. I can't believe you blew the challenge for us. This is short and sweet, and it allows for a response, and it also sounds natural. Whatever. The other person responds. This shows their apathy and gives way for implementing more of the original dialogue. I can't believe you. Why are you even here? Character 1 has read the situation and realizes Character 2 does not even care about the competition. Instead of repeating that thought, you don't even want to be here, Character 1 just asks why this character is even participating. This set of dialogue is much more subtle, much more open, and there's a lot more that can be done. However, there are definitely ways this dialogue can go wrong. This is where redundant dialogue really sets in. Character 1 asks, "Why are you even here?" In many cases, Character 2 would be written to respond about all the ways they actually did contribute to the challenge. "I did try in the challenge. I climbed over the rock wall and I made it to the other side. Yeah, but you were too slow and the other team passed us." It's good that Character 2 is defending themselves, and that shows that there's actually not so much apathy on their side, but we already know the other team passed him. We already know he climbed over the rock wall. This is redundant. No new information is given. We just watched the episode. Another issue with dialogue is when people make characters who are very casual and of average intelligence talk using long, complicated words. This unnecessarily lengthens the sentence and causes out-of-character interactions. Here's the line again, but if the writer decided to use a thesaurus for no reason. "I'm infuriated. I cannot fathom how you caused our defeat. Your apathy is disgusting. You're a horrendous character. I hope the viewers make the right choice this time around and give you the boot." Yeah, people don't talk like this. Also, contestants shouldn't really talk about the viewer. It's really out of place and disorienting. On a quick final note, contestants should never refer to each other as characters. To each other, they're real people and they're in a real world. That'd be like if you walked over to your friend and called them a really cool character. That would be weird.
Object shows can definitely have cool plot lines. That's what keeps them interesting. However, a common trend in object shows is that the huge plot line will rise in episode 1 or 2, and finish in episode 4. Then nothing really important happens in the rest of the episodes, and the plot line is ignored and forgotten about. In order to flesh out a plot line, it's super important to pre-plan. In order to plan this out, list out the episodes from episode 1 all the way until the assumed end of the season. Then write out how the plot will progress through the episodes. This way you will know firstly that the plot makes sense, and secondly if it is long enough to stretch from the beginning to the end.
To create a plot that spans through the season, keep in mind these 5 phases: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. The exposition is the introduction of the characters in their world. The rising action is the journey you're building of the tension throughout the story. The climax is the big moment where everything comes to fruition, when the heroes meet their foe for the last time, The falling action is when the characters are coming back from their journey, and the tension fades. Finally, the resolution is when we see things go back to normal, but different. Nothing's really ever the same again. The characters have grown and changed and aren't really the same. Over the course of the season, the overarching plot of the season will typically follow these phases as tension rises. However, during the season, there are mini plotlines every episode, which also typically can follow this pattern. The plots of every episode are microcosms, and the plot of the whole series is the macrocosm. They follow the same structure, but the overarching plot is the macrocosm, which encompasses all of these smaller plots. The overarching ultimate plot should not happen within the first 4 episodes, for one reason.
When one plot finishes, the next plot typically is even bigger and better. Take an anime instead in Season 1 and Season 2. In Season 1, they had to defeat MePhone 5. Now in Season 2, they have to defeat even more MePhones, potentially including the creator of the MePhones. Of course, breaking the pattern can be even cooler. You can have the characters defeat a big monster, then a small monster, then a big monster. This break in the pattern is just as entertaining. If, in 4 episodes, the contestants defeat a giant monster, the next plot is to have them defeating an even bigger monster or foe, or there's no progression and no fun. The tension and excitement dips, and it's like the rest of the season is in the falling action part of a plot. It's important to keep tensions rising throughout the season, and lighter moments here and there to balance out the heavy scenes. This way, the viewers are always looking forward to something. There are a few types of shows in the community. Joke shows, serious shows, and those shows in between that have jokes but are definitely focusing on a plotline. If you're in between, it's totally okay to have some serious scenes. However, when 2 characters have an important talk, there needs to be build-up. There needs to be evidence that this has been leading up for a while, and it needs to be in context. When there's a lighthearted joke scene, then a serious scene, and then a joke scene, it's so weird and the contrast is super disorienting. For example, in BFB 6, there's a scene with Pin and Coiny underneath one of X's baskets. This scene was totally different than the rest of the episode, and stuck out like a sore thumb because there's no build-up to this scene at all. If Coiny and Pin talked often before this episode, this scene would have made more sense, but it seemed like it was just shoved into it. The last time they really talked was in another season. Instead of having this weird juxtaposition, the best plan would be to have the story develop over multiple episodes. The viewer should be keyed in that the conflict you're writing is coming to a head. A good example of this is episode 5 of Paper Puppets Take 2. Loaf and Santa Hat struggle with their place on the show as a secondary plotline that is introduced in this episode, and it was resolved between the two as well in the same episode. It's done well though, because throughout the episode there are scenes showing this conflict before they actually sit down and talk. Without these scenes prior, the viewers wouldn't be keyed in, it would seem awkward and wouldn't fit with the rest of the scenes, which were much more laid back. Overall, the way you choose to introduce and resolve plotlines is ultimately up to you, but making sure that your scenes don't leave the viewers confused or disorienting is a big part of how well the show is received. This all depends on build-up and tension. And that's it! Phew, that was a lot to get through.
Are you saying this was tough? Pshaw, that challenge was so easy. I hope you get voted out.
We're done with the episode now. You can stop. Please. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Whenever I get to making the next part, I'll be going over voice acting. That should be fun. Until then, maybe you could subscribe? I make a pretty cool object show.
Subscribe to me too.
Yeah! Subscribe to Webz too!